Okay, part 21 of Federalist 10 will continue with the paragraph that starts with, by what means is this object attainable? What object? Remember from the last part that we looked at? It's what do we do when a majority faction or a majority of the population or a majority that's interested in one thing takes over the power? How do we make sure that they do not violate, they do not step on the rights of the minority? So he goes on to say, evidently by one of two only. One of two ways. Either the existence of the same passion or interest in a majority at the same time must be prevented, or the majority having such coexistent passion or interest must be rendered by their number and local situation unable to concert and carry into effect schemes of oppression. Okay? Two ways. Either the existence of the same passion or interest, either you do something where the majority won't have the same view on the same thing. They'll have divided views so that they won't have the same passion and interest about the same thing. Or the majority having such coexistent passions or interests must be rendered by their number and local situation unable to concert and carry into effect schemes of oppression. Or even if they are really, really united in it, you've got to find a way to make sure that they don't, if they're really thinking about their interests, you have to make sure that they do not concert, they don't get together and totally carry into effect and do their schemes of oppression, do the things to violate the rights of the minority. So you have to think about it. How do we do this? How do we stop them from actually coming together and focusing on one thing, and that one thing being violating the rights of the minority? If the impulse and the opportunity be suffered to coincide, we well know that neither moral nor religious motives can be relied on as an adequate control. He says we cannot count on these people's religious beliefs thinking that, oh, they're going to be good Christians and they will not violate other people's rights. He says that is foolish. Don't even think about that. Okay? Neither morals nor religious motives. Nothing. No, you can't count that they're great, they're moral people, or their religion tells them not to do that. He says you cannot do that. With the majority, when they have power, they'll run all over you. They are not found to be such on the injustice and violence of individuals, and lose their efficacy in proportion to the number combined together. That is, in proportion as their efficacy becomes needful. So you have to always think about them grouping together, how efficient they are, how well they work together. So you have to come up with a plan, with a frame of government that the majority will not be able to unite to oppress the minority. Then he goes to the next paragraph and he says, from this view of the subject, it may be concluded that a pure democracy, by which I mean a society consisting of a small number of citizens who assemble and administer the government in person, can admit of no cure for the mischiefs of faction. So it says right off the bat, we know that a pure democracy, like the ones in small city-states in Athens and medieval Italy, it's not going to stop it. Because in a small republic, in a pure democracy, a small republic that's run by a pure democracy, the majority always outrun the minority, and there's no stopping them. A common passion or interest will, in almost every case, be felt by a majority of the whole. A communication and concert results from the form of government itself. It says when a majority gets together in a small place, there is no way that you can stop them from concert, working together. Okay, the area is small. They'll get together, they'll have plans, and they will execute it, and they will violate the rights of the minority. And there is nothing to check the inducements to sacrifice the weaker party or an obnoxious individual. So there's no way that you're going to do anything, talk them into stopping running over the minority party, whatever the case. Hence, it is that such democracies have ever been spectacles of turbulence and contention, have ever been found incompatible with personal security and rights of property, and have in general been as short in their lives as they have been violent in their deaths. So that kind of a system, it's completely turbulent. It's going up and down. It's not steady. You cannot count on it. 1 minute they turn into anarchy, and the next they'll have a tyrant over them. So it's just totally turbulent. You cannot count on where you are, where you will be the next day. So all you see is cycles of war, quiet, calm, war again, and always in turbulence, always in turbulence. Theoretic politicians who have patronized this species of government have erroneously supposed that by reducing mankind to a perfect equality in their political rights, they would at the same time be perfectly equalized and assimilated in their possessions, their opinions, and their passions. Theoretic politicians, he's talking about people who have never practiced politics, who've never studied it, who've never studied history. They don't know. All they're saying is just promising you something that is vague, that is baseless. They say sometimes we need to have small republics or small democracies, and that is going to bring you nothing but instability and war and conflict. So he says don't fall for them, because they say that they think that if you give equal rights to people, everything is going to be just fine. They don't think or consider that factions might form. Human nature, sooner or later, will dictate it. People will group themselves together in what their common interest is and try to get as much profit as they can before somebody else they think will take their share of profit away. So he says these theoretic politicians, these politicians who don't know anything about reality of societies and how people behave, are misleading you. And he goes, and next paragraph says, a republic, by which I mean a government in which the scheme of representation takes place, opens a different prospect and promises the cure for which we are seeking. So here says, this is our wonderful solution. A republic where you have representation, not direct democracy, where you elect people to represent you instead of showing up to the city center, to the town center, and voting every time about everything whether you know what the heck is going on or not. It says a pure democracy will destroy. Whereas when you have representation, a republic, that would be the cure of this disease. That will lead you to a better place. Let us examine the points in which it varies from pure democracy. Let's see what the difference is between a republic and a pure democracy. And we shall comprehend both the nature of the cure and the efficacy which it must derive from the union. So he says, when we study this, we will not only find out why this is the cure, and also find out how in this new system that we've established, it will answer your needs, it will bring you a better future, a prosperous future, a peaceful future. So we will continue with the next paragraph in the next video. This is wonderful because he is saying we need a republic. We don't need a pure democracy, and we don't need any theoretic politicians, he calls them. Any people who don't know what the heck they're talking about, who have no experience with history, reading history, or have never been in public office, or have never tried to find out how in the ancient world, even in the 2-3 centuries ago, how some of these systems have crumbled down, has fallen, crashed. So we will come back to